Hi, my name's Fritz Hager, and you're watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Hey everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press, and today I am happy to be joined by Fritz Hager. How's it going?
Hi, what's up? It's good to be here.
Thank you for responding. I know it was a quick turnaround time from when we saw your early release Idol audition on Thursday, and we reached out on Instagram. So you're pretty active there. So we're happy that you responded, and we could kind of get this set up before what's going to be an exciting time for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting to get used to things happening on short notice. So, yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll get started because there's a lot to talk about. I know in your Idol audition, it featured clips of a younger Fritz, a baby Fritz singing. What was that spark that made you think, I want to pursue performing and music past childhood?
So it was, I mean, the passion was always there, as a kid. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly when that moment was, but I know how much the show, like, it really did inspire me because it was the first time I was able to see just like regular people, uh, just grow and be able to perform and have that platform. So yeah, I don't know. It's always been there. But I think American Idol kind of jump started that process for me a bit.
Did you grow up in a musical household?
No, I'm really the only musical person in my family. I think some of my other siblings probably are, but it's just a matter of like if that's something they decide to pursue. I have a little sister who's really into the arts. So, it's there. The spark is there for a lot of my family, but it's not for everyone.
Yeah, it is a turbulent industry. I guess it does taking that jump and that leap. Like you mentioned Idol. Your idol is Phillips, as we saw from the audition. What about Philip really spoke to you as an artist?
He was just really authentic in his music and in the music that he wrote and on the show. He was just he did what he did, and that's sort of I guess the main thing that I would take from Phillips as an inspiration is to just sing how you sing. I have a background in musical theater, and a lot of that is changing your voice so that you fit a character, and it's nice to not have to do that and to just sing how I want to sing.
He was super authentic. I loved hearing him on the show. What is your all-time favorite Philip song?
I think I know it's his big song, but Home is just so good. I still listen to it all the time. I think when I first watched the show, because I was still pretty young, I'm
You
pretty
were
sure.
11 when
Yeah,
he won season 11. Yeah.
right, yeah. Um, Crazy. It's so long ago. Wow. Um, no, but he performed his song on the show, and I don't think I learned that it was actually his song until afterwards. And his first single and EP and stuff came out. So yeah, I didn't really even know that was an option to do. So yeah, who knows? Maybe there might be originals on the show coming sometime
Yeah.
soon. You never know.
Well, hopefully. Are there any contestants in, I want to say, the past 2 to 3 seasons who you followed and maybe looked to for that inspiration and what you could also be doing?
Yeah, there's two that come to the forefront immediately. So I think 2018 was when Alejandro auditioned. I think it was 2018. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, Alejandro, I mean, every opportunity he had to sing an original on the show, he took. And again, he just did him, and he was runner up, which was amazing. So as a songwriter, he's a huge inspiration. And then also someone that's really helped me through this process. I reached out to Wyatt Pike, who was on the show last year. And I really related to him and his story. And I reached out on Instagram, just sent him a DM, and he was gracious enough to talk to me and sort of help me through the process, which was really cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, we spoke with Wyatt. He's great. He just released a new single, Deep Blue, which people should also go check out. I wanted to touch on musical theater a bit more, which you mentioned. What really drew you to this performance aspect of not only singing, but the dancing and the acting?
So I was never really good at the dancing part. That's not my forte. But no, in total honesty, I auditioned for my musical theater class or whatever because there was a girl I had a crush on in high school, and she was in a musical theater class, and I wanted to be in another class with her. So I just kind of auditioned and got in. But sort of delving into the musical theater world, there's still a lot of really cool artists that go into that. If you look at Once, which is one of my favorite shows ever, written by Glenn Hansard, who's this crazy folk artist. And now Hadestown is really cool too, with a lot of cool folk music in there. So I was never a big fan of the jazz hands and big stuff, but I think there's some really meaningful music that can come out of musical theater.
Yeah, for sure. And what's cool is you don't only have that performing background, but you also have aspirations to write and compose music for musical theater productions. So where did that interest come from?
Well, I had already started writing by that time, and in high school, I mean, musical theater was a big part of my high school career, and even going into college for a little bit. So the writing seed was there, and I was doing musical theater all the time. So it's just kind of well, might as well try, to write songs that my friends can sing. So yeah, I just kind of started doing it just out of pure curiosity. Entered into a couple competitions and stuff. Yeah, it was I don't know, musical theater songwriting is really different though. Having to build characters through song is pretty interesting. Yeah.
Well, you did do pretty well. In 2018, you entered the songwriting challenge. You got to hear your music kind of performed back to you, which must have been such a surreal experience.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was the first time I'd been to New York, and had Ben Rahala was my music director, and he's doing big stuff now. But yeah, it helped me learn more the technical side of building a song. Got to meet a bunch of cool people in New York, made me fall in love with the city. Yeah, that was a really cool experience. That's one of those that it's up there for me.
Yeah. Speaking of another thing, you mentioned jazz hands. I found this performance on YouTube, had to talk about it, which was your role as Ryan Evans, Ryan and Sharpay in the high school production of High School Musical. What was that like? I mean, it's a Disney Channel classic. It's an iconic role.
Yeah. That was my first show I ever did, was High School Musical. And I forgot that those are on the internet. That's crazy. Yeah, it was fun. I don't really know what to say. I'm kind of embarrassed that those are like out there. Need to talk. I don't know where they are.
I feel
I can find them.
yeah, if you put in your name, but like by the time this interview might go up, I don't know if they'll be taken down. But I mean, those are like the roots that you have to kind of think about, you know, where
Yeah.
you are now and where you kind of started. If you could like perform today, would you still be able to do the bop to the top and what I've been looking for numbers?
No way. No way. I would try, and you know, well, maybe, if I picked it up again, it might be just as good as it was when I performed it
As it was all those
originally.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So not the bar is low for that.
Well, who
Um,
knows? Maybe you'll get back into it at some point, the dancing part. Um, and speaking of, like, you've spent time honing your craft in your community. So I want to know, who are some specific people or places who have helped you get to where you are today?
yeah. There's this really cool spot in downtown Tyler. Tyler's it's a relatively small but sort of growing town. And the music community kind of reflects that. So there's this coffee shop downtown called the Foundry. Best coffee in Tyler. And whenever they first popped up, there was like nothing downtown. And then Foundry came in, and one of the first things they did was like have open mics and live music and listening rooms and stuff. And yeah, like in high school, I'd gig all the time. So I played at Foundry a lot. It was pretty much like one or two people in the crowd, and then people getting coffee sometimes. So it wasn't like, the most lucrative thing, but that's sort of where I started, I think. And it's kind of cool because my watch party tomorrow is going to be there. So I'm hoping that we can fill the room. I feel like it would be a cool little full circle moment.
And it's great to see that they've also continued supporting you this whole time, a place that you can also go back to. What's your go-to coffee order there?
It kind of depends. I'm a latte guy usually. I do love a cortado though. I'm lactose intolerant, so usually like the less milk the better. So if I just want something fast, I'll get like a cortado from there. I actually used to intern there for a summer. I was an unpaid intern at a coffee shop, which was
Like, were
weird.
you a barista? Like, were you making the coffee in the back?
I think I was doing pour overs. I
Okay.
don't think I was like, because I couldn't do like the latte art or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really interesting.
It did, your career as a pour over specialist did not pan out very well.
Right. Yeah. Lasted for around like a month, I think.
They were like, I think you should be just performing here rather than making the coffee in the back. Let's talk about American Idol. When you're standing there underneath the bright lights, front of the big cameras, it's a very realistic situation where you don't leave the room with a golden ticket. So were you mentally prepared for that outcome?
Going into it, I think I tried my best to be. It's always weird because it's like it's such a visceral moment. And especially because it's so early, I knew like, okay, this might not happen. I auditioned last year and didn't make it past like the initial like Zoom audition. I didn't even make it to live auditions. So going in, I was, I was pretty aware that like, this might not happen. And yeah, I think going forward, I think for anyone that is auditioning or that will audition, I think that's really important to know, because I think it lets the passion survive, even if it's a no. Just having that outcome at the forefront of your mind, that things might not work out, and that's okay. I think that's really important.
Yeah, kind of like setting that expectation, right? Because it
Right.
can be crushing. Like imagine if you go in, you're so hopeful and to hear no's, and sometimes it's not the right time. You might grieve. I know a lot of fans at home might agree, might disagree with what's going on with auditions, but I like that you said that you did perform Before You Go by Lewis Capaldi. Absolutely love that song. What was the second song that you had prepared?
The second song was an original, actually. And it is on the EP. Just dropping on the 25th, March 25th. Called Inconsequential Love. It was prepared, it was in the pocket, but they didn't ask for it, which is cool. It was kind of stressful because, when the no came out from Luke, it was like, oh man, okay, Lionel, please. And if Lionel said no, then I was going to ask to sing another one, which, I talking with producers who were kind of helping me through the process, it was very much like Lewis Capaldi. It's a solid song. If you need another one, keep that original in your back pocket, just in case. So, I mean, luckily I made it through, which is nice. But yeah, it's always good to be prepared.
I like that you went in there thinking like if you got a no, you would have asked, because I mean you're there, right? There's no harm in trying.
Right. Yeah, I think that a lot of people stress about that. Even when just like first auditioning, it's like, you might as well. I mean, it's there. The worst that's going to happen is they're going to say no and your life goes back to normal.
Absolutely.
There's no reason to pull any punches.
So Luke Bryan did say you needed a bit more room to grow. As your idol journey progresses, what are you most looking forward to proving, not only to the judges and the viewers at home, but to yourself?
I think one of the coolest parts of the show is that room for growth, the opportunity to grow. The thing that always like to this day is stuck in my head is what Katie said, that they need to know who I am from the very first note that I sing. I want to be able to do that in every performance. Want to do that in Hollywood, and if things go further, I want to do it there. Yeah, a lot of it is it's a confidence thing for me, because I did a lot of music, a lot of my own music for a really long time, and it went absolutely nowhere. So, I want to prove to them, to America, and to myself that this is what I'm supposed to do.
I guess just, finding your voice as an artist, and like you mentioned, like kind of sticking with it and knowing who you are. So Hollywood Week, we know you'll be there. We know from the promos that Idol alumni will be there, like Jordan Sparks, Ruben Studdard, David Cook, Lauren Elena. What can you tease about what's to come?
I can't tease too much.
How about, let's say you saw them for the first time. What were they like as people? Not like what advice did they give you?
It was kind of like we all had sort of a shared trauma experience. So it was weirdly familiar, because they'd been through exactly what we're going through now. So it was nice. It was nice to have
shared
people,
trauma. That's
right.
How you want to define it. Yeah.
It was nice to see people that made it through and are still kicking,
Yeah. And hopefully they do give some sound advice. Hollywood, like how was that underneath the California sun during, like, I'm thinking it was the past couple of months or something like that?
Yeah, it was actually the first time I'd ever been to LA, which is really cool. Um, it was insane. It was just a crazy process. And when the show, they'll talk up Hollywood Week, and watching the show, it's always like, when I was first watching it as a kid, I was like, oh, I can do that. I can do that. It's not that bad. It's pretty bad. It's really hard, because it's a lot of stuff condensed in a couple days, So it's exhausting, mentally and physically and spiritually. But it's another, just one of those once in a lifetime things, like that's never going to happen anywhere else, and being surrounded by all those amazing artists too was just amazing.
So speaking of amazing artists, like tell me about your time bonding with your fellow contestants. Like who have you really clicked with?
Um, I met Leah Marlene, who she was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Her audition aired 2 weeks ago. I met her in Hollywood. She is so fun. And she's just an amazing artist. She's an amazing songwriter. And then there's some people who their auditions haven't aired yet, so I'm not going to speak on them. But yeah, there's something really special about being in the same room with a bunch of different artists who have the same passion as you. And it never really felt like we were competing at the time. We all wanted everyone to succeed, which I think is what sort of made the whole experience worthwhile, because you meet a bunch of people from all over the country. Even in Canada, we have a couple of Canadian people on the show. So I don't know. It's just one of those opportunities that, I knew going into it that I wanted to really capture that and make the most of it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that when we speak to anyone from Idol, it's like the Idol family and the people that you can kind of create and grow with. Hopefully, some collaborating, songwriting together might happen down the road. Have you already kind of talked about that with anyone?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're all songwriters, and the fact that we even like met each other is crazy. So, I mean, there's bound to be a bunch of collaboration all across the board from everyone with everyone. Uh, yeah, and I like writing songs with my friends, and in Tyler, there's not a lot of people I can do that with. So, yeah, who knows?
Yeah, down the road, something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Without saying, we don't know how you'll do past Hollywood Week, but as a longtime Idol fan and viewer, what is a theme week that you would love to see brought to the live rounds?
Theme week. Huh. That's a good question. We're already doing a Disney week. That's already a thing.
If you can't think of something, I'm gonna throw something out there.
Throw something out there. What do you think?
I was hoping you were say Broadway week. Like I was
I was
hoping.
Yeah, you know what? That's the right answer. You thought of the right answer. Yeah.
Because your cover of Dear Evan Hansen for Forever, I've been listening to it like nonstop these past couple of days. It's a really amazing cover. Like, I'm curious because you have this other side and genre in your back pocket. Did you ever think about going this route for your auditions?
I did. It definitely, definitely crossed my mind. It was definitely a thing to think about, because in my audition, it's definitely more like indie folk almost. And I love singing a bunch of different genres, whether it's like R&B, which I'm admittedly not as good at, or like more musical theater, big sort of belty stuff. But I sort of wanted this process to sort of differentiate from that. Just because I wanted to, I don't know, I love musical theater, but I definitely have sort of a love-hate relationship with it sometimes. And I take every opportunity I can to perform. But I wanted this to be, different. I wanted this to be me, how I, just who I am, how I want to sing, and not really put anything on,
Yeah, I do feel like based on your original music, that is more like a showman thing that you can do. But like the thing is, when I see comments and people are like, oh, he sings Louis Capaldi, he has a guitar, but they don't see this other side where you do have, a different kind of power in your voice. So I'm hoping that if you make it to the live rounds, we might get to see it. But of course, it's up to you and the show and what you kind of want to put out there. Speaking of your original music, I know you don't like putting a label on the genre, but you mentioned it's along the veins of singer-songwriter, indie folk pop. Who are your major influences in sound and instrumentation?
For this one, I think at first, it was all written on guitar, and then I got in the studio for the first time. This is my first studio recorded anything. And they kind of took like sort of some of the songs kind of rock out, and I didn't really expect that. I think sonically, this EP, I took a lot of inspiration from James Bay. I'm a big James Bay fan. And there's this band called the band Camino, which I really, really love. They're on a rocket ship right now. It's crazy. I think that like sort of like the indie rock kind of slipped in a little bit when I didn't expect it. And it's cool too, because, I'm in Texas, and the only studios around are, they typically, do country artists. So it was kind of cool to experiment with how much of that we could put into, just to sort of, I don't know, throw another flavor into the weird soup that is this EP.
Yeah, you mentioned this rockabilly, and it's like we could kind of see it because you had released a acoustic version of All My Friends, and then we hear the single version that you released earlier this year. So there's that added like rockabilly, the textures to it. Your self-titled debut EP. What's really cool is you also had it on Kickstarter when you met your goal. So to have so many people, like friends, family, listeners, who believe in you and your music, what has that meant to you?
It meant the world, and it still means the world. It, really this Idol thing sort of jump-started it. But it was sort of the first sort of moment where I was like, people care. People like actually want to hear my music. Which, I mean, it was just so big. Raised over $6,000 in less than a month, I think. I'm pretty sure we met our goal in less than a month. Which was just wow, yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of like reeling that like that even happened. Just to have the opportunity to have people support me through this, it's just, it's such a blessing.
So you got to go in the studio, you mentioned like professionally record. Tell me about your songwriting process and how it's helped you express your thoughts and your feelings.
Yeah, I mean, I always used songwriting as, my little form of therapy. It yeah, a lot of these songs I wrote during COVID, during quarantine. I was living in this crappy little apartment with my brother, and we had nothing to do, so I just started writing again. And I had just gotten back from college. I went to Oklahoma City University for musical theater, dropped out within a semester. Came home, did nothing for a couple years, and then COVID hit, and I was in that room, so I was like, might as well write. So it sort of gave me an opportunity to reflect and grow, just first as a person, and then as a musician. Yeah, I'd sort of put off thinking about a lot of things, and just having that opportunity, even though it's just awful, awful circumstance, but I think it was, for me, it was a little blessing in disguise, but yeah, this EP is really just, stuff that was on my mind during quarantine. Just sort of the existential stuff that I didn't want to think about and was sort of forced to confront, but yeah.
What is your favorite song off the EP and why? Is it Inconsequential Love? Because that's the one you also ended up like as your second song, if you had to.
The 5 songs on this EP, I love them all. It's hard to pick
it's
one.
Like they're your
babies.
Yeah. Everyone says, they're your babies. You can't choose.
Yeah, and I came to my producer with like 12 songs, and we narrowed it down to 5. So I really think that these 5 are like the best of the best. So they all have, I think it constantly changes every time. I really like Maybe I Think I Love You, which was the second single. Inconsequential Love is like a really important song to me. And there's also a song on there called The Ocean, which I wrote for my grandma, who passed away in 2018, I think. Yeah, so they all mean a lot to me. They're all deeply personal. I don't know, just listen to all of them, I guess.
I thought you were gonna list them all, and then All My Friends, and then the 5th song that we haven't heard yet. But as an artist, I have to say, looking for your past releases, you probably have like the most accounts I have seen on YouTube. There are a couple different channels with either old videos or official releases. Same with Spotify. You have a SoundCloud. Are you thinking it's about time to like consolidate these together?
Well, so I will say, on YouTube at least, I only have one account, but my dad has several, and my dad has the same name as me. So those might be some of the ones out there. But yeah, I did sort of just shotgun blast all of the content that I had, all the music I had, just sort of out into the world. It wasn't structured at all, and that's one of the things that I kind of look back on, and I'm like, obviously nothing happened because there was no plan. I didn't do anything with a plan. So going through this process has sort of taught me like how to be more present on social media, which is a huge thing. I learned that like 67% of music discovery last year was exclusively on TikTok. So I'm trying to do more TikToks. I'm trying to streamline things a bit now.
Yeah. Your SoundCloud does have some deep cuts. You mentioned R&B before. There's some more R&B, ambient, pop-inflicted demos. Any chance that some of these see the light of day? And by some of these, I'm talking about Memory, which I think was like the stand-up of the SoundCloud releases.
I think that was an option for the EP. I think it was close.
It was one of the 12 that didn't make the
Yeah.
cut.
Yeah.
Maybe the second one, maybe the debut album.
Maybe we'll see. Yeah, there's some deep cuts on SoundCloud. I think that I use SoundCloud more as like a journal almost. And especially when like I was trying to learn production and stuff, just having, you know, pieces out there that I can kind of return to and be like, okay, why is this good or why is it bad? And just kind of leave it out there. I think that's valuable. It's like a little memoir, of music.
Yeah, it's like, the footprints kind of thing. And
Right.
then you have the official releases. I want to talk about a tweet that you posted in 2020. Someone please cast me in a teen coming of age comedy movie. Thanks. So on that note, what is your favorite coming of age movie? And like, what did you imagine yourself being cast in when you put out that tweet?
I love Superbad. Superbad's one of my favorite movies. I think when I tweeted that, I was probably like, I just want to be Michael Cera. I love how awkward he is. And I feel like I could do that. Yeah, I think I just want to be Michael Cera. Just cast me in anything that where you think Michael Cera is gonna fit, just throw me in there. Yeah.
I mean, Juno was a great movie.
Yes.
We have a couple of wildcard questions as we wrap things up. First of all, can you name all the members of the Fellowship of the Ring?
I believe so, and if I can't, I'm gonna hate myself. So you got the Hobbits: Merry, Pippin, Frodo, and Sam. You've got Gimli, you got Gandalf, you got Aragorn, Legolas, and Boromir. Is that it? Is there more? I think that's it.
You got it.
Yeah.
There's 9. Okay, so I thought you might know that, and that's because I follow Cassandra Coleman on Instagram, and she posted a photo, and you commented, and I'm like, maybe he knows, I'm hoping that you did know. So,
Yes.
She's another artist who I can't wait for her original music because she was so good on the show.
Oh my gosh. I want to meet her so bad. I want to write with her so bad. She seems so cool. I love her
I'm
voice.
gonna post this clip on Instagram and try to get her to see who you are. Yeah, it's just so ethereal, and I feel like it was so unique, especially with this new Idol season. So
her
good.
Showstopper performance was crazy. I think that was the moment for me last season where I was like, oh my gosh, she's a beast, Whew. Such a talent.
Yeah, hopefully new music from her is coming soon. And our signature question for you, if you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
Oh man. I think that I would be Dreamsicle. I love Dreamsicle. It's my favorite sort of ice. Does that count? I mean, it's like an ice cream pop or whatever. Yeah, just because it's like you got this solid exterior and then just creamy goodness on the inside, which I think, I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I just think it's cool. Just like the temperature.
I thought you were also going to say I'm living my dreams, so it's metaphorical.
That is, you have better answers to my questions than I do. That's crazy.
It's like no, it could be I'm just reading your mind kind of thing. But I like that answer. I think that's the first dreamsicle, like the popsicle that we got for that question. But I would like to thank you so much for taking the time to chat. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me. I'm always, it's an exciting time and glad to talk about it. So thanks for having me.
Make sure to catch Fritz on American Idol Sundays and Mondays on ABC. His debut self-titled EP is out March 25th. So show your love and support, and we will see you next time.